I know for the West Africans, the route and for the those who try by sea, of which there's so many dangers to it. People perish in the high seas. People get killed in the desert. People get to Libya and then they're still tortured, and some of them just give up the will to live. So the one of the key routes that the exit routes that people are using is the Libya route, which I think has developed complications now. So I think there's another route in Egypt. But then there is obviously those that go by air, and the ones that go by air again seem to be more privileged, and when they get there, it's a bit more sophisticated kind of trafficking, because the ones that go by sea, normally they raise their own funds and approach somebody, and this somebody promises to get them to point A to B, and wherever they go, they're spending money. Now, if you ask yourself the cost of this movement alone, I met a guy once at a job I did, and he was from Nigeria, and he spent the better half of 30,000 euros
to
come.
It ranges, even some people more,
Europe.
close to 50,000.
Now, ask yourself, what can 30,000 euros do for you within Africa itself? So does it make sense? Are we failing ourselves because of lack of knowledge and awareness, or because of this allure that, oh, I will go to Europe, I will do this, I'll make it big? Then don't forget, when they get here, there's several challenges. Even those of us that came by air and we came as students and everything was kind of streamlined, we still made a lot of challenges. For some, it will take you about a year or two before you can even hold a job, because the jobs here are not as straightforward as we get jobs at home. Even silly jobs, you need training. So is the hustle really worth it for anybody, if I may ask, considering the cost, considering the physical trauma, the mental trauma, the isolation, the fact that you miss your family? Perhaps we in the diaspora are letting our people down because we're not telling them the truth. We only want them to see the glorious side of it. I came, I made it, I built a house, I bought a car, and this is what's attracting them. But actually, if you're spending 30,000 euros to get to Europe or America, you could as well earn these things in Africa, couldn't you?
So can I come in there?
Yes, please.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. We in the diaspora, we have a very big responsibility to, especially where we live, we have to explain to our people what their life is like. It's not as glamorous as they imagine it to be. In fact, sometimes they think it's so glamorous, they think it's better than what James Bond's life is. And that's borne by the fact that when you go for holidays back home and you interact with people, they look at you as if you're foreign. They think, you know, they think as if you have already changed from the person you used to be before, just by the virtue of being abroad. And also, what I meant by you hitting the nail on the head is that actually people send a lot of wrong misconception to our people back home. You find that some young people, they take pictures, you know, next to expensive cars. So you take a walk in places like Chelsea, very expensive area in London, where there's lots of expensive cars parked on the roadside. He will sort of lean on one car as if it's his car. He'll take a picture of that. He'll put it as his profile. Of course, he'll be very careful not to identify the number plate. You know,
you can get sued for that.
No? So when someone looks at this from places like Uganda, they'll say, "Wow, is this the same guy who I used to grow up with? Is this the same guy who left us here? We were really on the same level. He is now driving that car. My goodness, this is the place I have to go." So even if they've got a proper job back home, by proper job, I mean, you know, a regular job, even if they've got that and they can survive very well, they've got a good, stable family, they've got an extra means of earning money, you know, which means they're really, you know, a stable individual in the society. And by virtue of having all of that, there's really no need for them to leave that environment and come to Europe. Because as you've mentioned rightly, you come to Europe, it depends how you'll arrive here. If you come here as a visitor, then of course your problem hasn't started, because they will not even look at you. You'll come here maybe for 6 months. The moment you make the mistake of letting your visa overrun, that is where your problems will start. Because a visitor's visa, you can never renew unless you go back to where you were given it in the first place. So by virtue of being here on an illegal stay, it means you're not going to have a proper job, you're not going to have proper documents, you are not going to be able to train, you are basically going to be stuck.
And the key point is you're very vulnerable to trafficking, because you take everything that comes your way.
Correct, because now you cannot, because in order for you to get a proper job, you go and get interviewed. The first thing the employer is going to require from you is, can I have your passport, please? Because they want to see what visa or what status you've got in your passport. Now, you can't obviously provide your passport because you know you haven't got a visa, you have overrun it. So you'll abandon that job even if you pass the interview. So now, for you to survive and send money back home, you're going to do what? Maybe start driving a minicab. Even that is not going to be plain sailing, because you're going to be coming into regular contact with the cops, because there are cops wearing uniform and loads of cops not wearing any uniform. So you will not know who is who.
Can I bring in,
and if
can I contribute on top of that?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
coming like from America's perspective, actually having a visa alone does not, you can have a visa, yes, but yeah, a visa even cannot guarantee even, because you just, visa alone just gets you in. But after visa is just to bring you, fly from point A to point B. That so visa, there are different kind of visas. That's one thing that people don't know. One, if you categorize them non-immigrating, then there's also migrating visa. So that thing, just by having visa doesn't guarantee you that by getting a visa you've secured. That's just the beginning of it, of the nightmare. So when you get a visa, yeah, you say thank you, you're happy. But as soon as you go across, that's when you say, oh my God, I didn't know. Sometimes you even say, I wish I'd even been denied the visa from the beginning, when you reach on the other side of the pond. Because like the way you say, here visa, you just have to have a status. So like residency status. You can be here 20 years, but you can't even have a status. So you have to be a resident status before you can even get a driver's license, buying a car, even rent itself. You can't even rent if you. So because you have to have like social security card before even you can be considered even able to rent. So in that situation, that brings in, that's when now sometimes some people can be lured into like trafficking. Because say like I have a visa, but I cannot work. So you find a situation where like some people who have like status go apply for job, but somebody is working under his name. Okay, you're happy that you're working. God forbid, sometimes if you're lucky, yeah, this person, and you know when the payment is going, because it's not a cash payment, it's going into an account. So that means, say like I'm working in Geoffrey's name. I'm working under your paper, everything, I call myself Geoffrey. So in the end, the money has to go to Geoffrey's account. So if it's now at Geoffrey's mercy that you have to give me, say, because I might be I say split it 50-50. So that means $100 that I've worked, I've gone to Geoffrey, and I'm having 100. Then on top of the 100, Geoffrey's keeping me sleeping on his sofa. So by sleeping on Geoffrey's sofa, I have to still pay part of the rent. So you see how like, so pretty much out of half of it will go to bills. So at the end of the day, you'll either be out of 200, you're left with 50. So out of that 50, you have to have upkeep and transportation and basic needs. Then you have people at home. That's when Geoffrey has been nice to me. There might be a situation where Geoffrey can say, hey, you know what? You have no right to work. So that's now labor trafficking. So you see, that's the topic, that things that people don't know what goes on sometimes some part of the world. Because
thank you very much, Harry. If I can add in as well,
time and again.
If I can add in as well from a personal experience, because I came as a student, and when I look back, I think my family spent close to £20,000 because the tuition, accommodation to start, and all these things, between 20 to 30,000 pounds was spent just for me to come to the UK to do a master's degree. And yes, it's privilege, it's prestige, but when I look, it definitely isn't justifiable, because then when that finished, then there was the pressure on me. Do I go back now? I didn't come to work, I came to study. And when I finished my studies, I was meant to be going back and probably getting a better job in Uganda or whatever. But because of the stigma of it, that you've been abroad and people have expectations, now you kind of find yourself in a trap whereby you just don't want to go back empty-handed. And that magnifies your problems. And you did mention the visa categories in the USA. I think in the UK we have the student visa, family reunion, we have marriage, we have the asylum route. Those are the 4 key ones, and then you obviously have the tourist one. So luckily for me, when I finished the school, I managed to get a tier 2 visa and got an extension. But for some reason, I felt, and that's one of probably the only thing that this country did for me. It kind of leveled me out. It gave me the real perspective of living and being able to look and provide for yourself, not depend on sort of family or somebody else's name. And I'm very thankful for that, because for some reason, I didn't take advantage of the tier 2 visa. I just decided to go into the British Army because I thought, you know, I need some life skills, because I'd done my undergraduate straight to master's degree without any sort of work experience. But I was one of the lucky few who could afford to do that, and not very many have that. But I think if we can bring in the role of stigmatization, holding people hostage in these countries, even when there's really nothing they're doing, and the best option for them would be to go home and they would make something more of their lives, I think that would help as well. Because I've known people who have been in this country for 15, 30 years, they don't have the status to be here or to work. They're barely getting by. Like you said, they're sofa surfing, sleeping on other people's sofas and not eating very well. And their quality of life is really bad. Okay, their quality of life is really bad, that you look at somebody and you just ask, why don't you just go home? And then there's the situation where they get frustrated and turn to alcoholism. And then the stigma magnifies because now they cannot go back. So if we can bring in the role of the false expectation people seem to have, that if you've been abroad, even if you've not gone to work, you must come back with A and B, because one of my very good friends has just finished his course in China and is back home now, he's in quarantine. And he used to get a lot of abuse from his family. He wasn't helping or anything, but he was on a student scholarship. Now the rules in China per se, as I know, you're not even allowed to work or to even become a citizen. So people need to stop expecting, because it seems once you get to these countries, they forget why you went there in the first place. They forget you went as a student. They forget maybe you went for medical treatment. They just all want to see you make and send money home. So in a sense, they are indirectly making us slaves to them.
So should I come in there?
Yes, please, Charles.
So you see, we all know what sort of society we have come from, and what sort of villages and families we have. If, let's say, I grew up together with you, and you have now proceeded to go to Kampala, I'm still in my village, and 2-3 years down the line, you have now embarked on a building project in your village, and very soon your project is finished. And if every time you come back to the village, you have got your corrugated iron building that you live in instead of the mud huts that we all used to live in, people will start murmuring. They'll say, what are you doing with your life? Look at so and so. He's your contemporary. He has built a permanent building in his village. What are you doing with your life? This is what our society is like.
This is true.
And it's even worse for people who are here abroad, because what they will assume is that by being abroad, you must all be on the same level playing field. So if somebody else can manage to do something, why can't you do it? They don't reason that people have different expectations in life. You might want to use your money to build a house with. I might want to invest mine in the stock market, or I may want to buy some cattle, livestock to keep. So we all have different ambitions in life. We are not the same, but unfortunately, people don't refrain from making judgment, and more so, if you go to the village, they'll say, "Oh, the sons of so and so are now doing this, or the daughters of so and so have now achieved this," meaning that they also expect people of a similar level to be on the same level playing field with those people in those kind of lines of achievement. And I think the village people, our own families, and basically close relatives do feel that quite a lot. But I'll give you another example. I know of a family who sent their son abroad, and this guy was a young man when he turned up here, and he used to work in the social service. He used to make good money. He was healthy. Unfortunately, he became ill, and of course, not just normal illness, serious illness. But of course, with that, you have to focus on making yourself better. You cannot hold a job down. This was quite debilitating illness, whereby it was sort of life and death situation. He wasn't going to die because he's got the NHS to care for him, but he's not going to be able to be well enough to work. And before that, he used to send money regularly at home. So what the mom decided to do was, they were not receiving any more help from him. She decided to come over here, and for someone of that age group, you can imagine, the level of adjustment she has to go through first of all in order for her to settle. The foods are different. The weather is completely different. The people, you're not going to make any friends like you do at home. Everything is different for an older person. But nevertheless, she came and weathered the storm. Unfortunately, she's now not well enough as well. So that makes two of them. Unfortunately, also for the mom, when she came over here, it was on a visitor's visa. But now she's been unable to renew that visa for years. The only lucky thing for her is that she's been able to find families who need help with their young members of the family, like kids. So she goes from home to home helping out with that, and she earns quite good money doing that. But she's not on a proper. In fact, she's an overstayer. Secondly, she's not able to earn the sort of money that she could earn if she was here legitimately. But at least she's here earning something and also helping to care for her son. But now you can see that, because the mom has come over here, the rest of the family back home have now been left without their mother, who cannot now go back because she doesn't feel that because she's now become the provider for the family, even at her age. So in a way, I would say she has been trafficked, whether she's been knowingly trafficked or not. Nevertheless,
she's been trafficked by circumstance. So yes,
exactly.
It's still trafficking,
Exactly.
and it's very sad.
It's very sad. But of course, any money that she's earning is not being taxed. So this is all in black market. The government obviously is not gaining from that at all. Somehow she has managed to get registered with the health service system because she's got all kinds of arthritic pains, which she's now having to get seen by the NHS. So again, she's costing the taxpayer. So you can see the level of problems that being knowingly or unknowingly trafficked can bring. But then let me also bring another dimension to this. I have a very, very good friend of mine who got a scholarship to go and study abroad. But these scholarships, what happens is they are flooded into the country. Yeah. So for instance, the UK would send how many students they want Uganda to sponsor through their scholarship scheme to come and study in the UK. It could be 300 kids in a year, different courses. Now, these scholarships are distributed via the ministries, right? So you'll find, for instance, the Minister of Education or I don't know, whatever ministry involved would make sure they are the ones
Foreign
responsible.
Affairs, I think Foreign Affairs run a few of them. The Chinese one were run by Foreign Affairs.
In coordination with Foreign Affairs, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Because I remember in Ministry of Education, I think that office was it on 3rd or 5th floor, something like that. I remember going into that office once.
Okay. So what then happens is you'll find that the sad part of it is the way it used to happen in the past is if they've got a number of students required for a specific scholarship scheme, they would run a test. They would say, okay, we've got this test. You guys have to sit it. Whoever passes, or however many of you who obtain this grade, they're the ones who will go. But not these days. That's not how it works these days. The way it works is the minister has the paperwork in their hands, whether it's the minister or the permanent secretary, and especially if you watch, you'll see that a lot of those scholarships, there's too many stories behind them. And one sad story I was told was that one of the officials who was actually in charge of dishing out these scholarships wanted to basically sleep with one of the students who was supposed to be given the scholarship to go and study. And whether or not that happened, the fact that he could do that, in my opinion, he should be arrested.
Exactly. That's abuse of authority. In the
abuse
UK,
of authority.
That's abuse of authority.
It's terrible. So you can imagine now if scholarship, and I know the Eastern Europeans, the US, the UK, European countries, they've got all these scholarships going on. Sometimes even in Holland, Germany, all these places, you'll find Ugandan students studying there. But then how do these students end up in those countries? We have sexual predators in these ministries. Our own government officials whom we cannot trust presiding over these scholarship schemes at the expense of our students. And it pains me because I am a father of girls as well. And I would hate if one of my daughters came to me and and told me that such a thing was suggested, you know, by an official so that they could be given a scholarship. And it doesn't matter if it's my daughter, but the fact that any Ugandan girl should be subjected to that kind of thing is painful.
I think let's not forget this same issue seems to apply even to when females are looking for jobs. And the other side of the coin is for the male child, they have to pay money. So in the case of looking for a job, you are sort of buying the job before you get the job, which is very wrong. Now, when females are being forced to sleep with the boss before they get a job, then that should affect all of us because we are married people. So now you're going to think, and this is why for me, I told my wife, I don't want you working. And ever since I've been trying to do everything for her. And I know it's not the best thing to do, but it's just a case of I wouldn't want her going through that trauma and that stress of some sex predator pressuring her and all these things. And yes, it's her life. Whether she wants to do it in normal life, she will still do it. But there she has some control. And the effect is not going to be as much as when she's having to do it under duress. Because that is going to take whatever self-worth she's left with. But on the other side, if she just went out to cheat knowingly, then she has the control over that and she's made the decision by herself, which is still morally wrong, but the implications are quite very different. And I think these are some of the things that a lot of people don't see with how severe these issues are when we talk about them.
And actually something, you know, connected to what you've just mentioned there, there are so many jobs right now in Uganda where, forget about the girls, these are now boys or men. You want a job, somebody is going to offer that job to you. Yeah, you're actually going to be given the job, the contract in your hand. But the side agreement with this person who has offered you the contract.
For 3 months of your salary or something like
that.
Correct.
Or you might even be paying them on a monthly basis. A chunk of your salary goes to them. This is happening right now in Uganda. And I think if this program is of any use, I hope that it has reached people who are suffering in silence with these kind of things, and they should find a way of at least letting us know, because we can raise these issues, you know, at higher levels of government, because nobody should be suffering in this kind of way. And I think one of the reasons why we have set up this forum is to, first of all, bring awareness. The awareness is that anybody should not be pressurizing you unduly, right? As a citizen, you are free. That is your country. You know, you have the same right as anybody else, right? So if someone, whether it's a member of parliament, whether it's a chairman of what, whether it's a town clerk, or whether it's who, they should not be entering into a separate agreement with you in order to fleece you of your money. That's not acceptable. That is illegal. So this is, if we can really reach people who are suffering, I would say we have succeeded on this forum. And
I think just to emphasize as well what you said there, we are not just here to raise awareness. We are also here to advocate for these issues, and where we can bring some measure of justice to those that are suffering. And the way we do that is we have a network of pro bono practitioners and this kind of people, and we are willing to throw our weight behind them, besides advocating at the higher levels and letting the relevant authorities know that this is happening so that it stops. Because if we just stop at raising awareness, then we are half doing the job. We